Hello friends, welcome back. In this video lesson, you will learn 5 interesting questions you can use to start a conversation with someone in English. Friends, starting a conversation with someone new, it shouldn't be a daunting task. In this lesson, you will learn 5 interesting questions you can use to start a conversation with someone in English and to have more meaningful conversations in English. Friends, to help you, to help us learn these 5 interesting questions, I've invited Jacob from jacobteacher.com to talk to us a little bit about these 5 interesting questions. Jacob is from Canada. He has a Canadian accent, and friends, this is a great resource. It's a great video lesson you can use to better understand natural English, to understand native English speakers, as I have an Australian accent and Jacob has a Canadian accent. You'll listen to us talking about these 5 interesting questions. We even answer some of these questions ourselves. Friends, if you are struggling to follow this video lesson and to follow the natural conversation, make sure to turn on subtitles. You can do that by hitting the CC button. Friends, I want to test you a little bit in this video lesson to test your listening skills. I did mention at the beginning that me and Jacob will be presenting 5 interesting questions you can use to start a conversation with somebody in English. Now, I'm not going to give those 5 questions away just yet, but I challenge you to listen to the whole conversation. And at the end of this video lesson, once you've listened to the whole conversation, comment below this video those 5 questions me and Jacob talked about. Friends, before we hear from Jacob, I would like to thank those members, our students in the Using English TP Classroom. Friends, have you not heard of the Using English TP Classroom? The Using English TP Classroom is it's an online community, it's an online classroom connecting, teaching, and enabling students from around the world to learn real English. Through weekly lesson sets, members are learning English naturally, just as native English speakers do. Through structured weekly lesson sets, we analyze grammar, vocabulary, idioms, phrasal verbs naturally. We learn them just as native English speakers do. Members are being consistent in their English learning journey. They are interacting with each other, they are interacting with me through group calls, through speaking challenges to make sure that they are getting the speaking practice they deserve. Become a Using English TP member today by enrolling in the Using English TP Classroom to get structured lesson sets, support and guidance from me, and to join our online community where we are speaking, interacting, and connecting in English. Go to www.usingenglishTP.com, enroll today, and get the speaking practice you deserve. Okay, back on topic. Let's hear from Jacob. Let's talk about those 5 interesting questions you can use to start a conversation in English.
Hey, Adriana, I'm doing well. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Jacob, I don't know about you, but when you meet somebody for the first time, starting a conversation with somebody. So I know a lot of my learners really struggle with this. You meet somebody, you have to talk with them, or maybe you want to talk with them, but you don't know how to start a conversation. What tips do you have to start a conversation with somebody in English?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think it's something that quite a few people struggle with. So the first thing I would say is if you are struggling with this, don't worry, because it's kind of a normal fear to have. It is quite uncomfortable to begin a conversation with someone who you have never spoken to before, someone who you don't know. So don't beat yourself up if you are feeling that way. There are a number of things you could do, I think, to start a conversation with someone. When we're going to go through some questions that I like to ask in a second here, I think, but one thing that I like to do and one thing that I would advise is to try to use the environment you're in. So imagine you're both in a coffee shop, for example, and imagine that they're out of coffee. Let's say that it's a self-serve coffee shop and they're out of coffee, and you see someone trying to fill up the coffee and it's not working. you could make a comment about that to them. And it could be something so simple as something like, oh, they're out of coffee today. It seems like that. It really doesn't matter what you say so much, as long as you just say something. A lot of the time, I just like to say to people too, hey, how's it going? And it's something as simple as that. I think that sometimes people feel like they need to say something really impressive or really smart, and that is just not the case from my experience. So a lot of the time, if you just say hi and have a nice smile on your face, that works perfectly.
Interesting. But still, it is really the case. How many times? Sometimes I'm stuck for words, and I just like, weather is something really common. Well, okay,
Yeah.
I know you have 5 interesting questions you want to share, so I don't want to comment too much about the weather, this, that. Maybe
Right.
you could share the first question.
Yeah, well, the first one, I wrote this post for you after being in a situation where I was with a friend of a friend, and we hadn't met before. So the 3 of us, my close friend and her friend, were at dinner. And my friend went to the washroom. So it was myself and this person who I didn't know sitting there. But this person who I didn't know was close friends with my friend. So they knew each other. And one thing that I like to ask in these situations, or in situations when you're with a group of people who know each other well, but you're not too familiar with the group, is to simply ask, how do you and person X know each other? Okay. And people love to tell stories about how they met their friends. People love to speak about themselves if given the chance. And this is a great way for you to give them that opportunity. So simply asking, how do you and blah, blah know each other? It's a great way to start a conversation in a situation like that.
Interesting. But what about if you're in a situation when, I don't know, you're with 2 people and there's you don't have the third wheel or the third person?
Right.
So what about in that situation? How can we start the conversation?
Yeah, well, I've got another great one for you here. This is one that I wrote on your blog. This is one of my favorites, and it's a very simple question. But the question is, what do you do to keep life from getting boring? And what you're basically asking here is, what are your hobbies? What do you enjoy doing with your free time? But it's just a kind of unusual way to word the question. And it's a way to word it that is a little bit more exciting, I think. And another thing that's great about this question is no one wants to sound boring. So if you ask someone, what do you do to keep life from getting boring? They're really going to search their brain for an answer, because no one wants to seem boring. And they're going to probably give you a good answer. So that's one that I really like to use in those situations.
But that's also a really difficult question to answer, because I know when I'm having a conversation with friends, or even before, so we're having a little bit of a chit chat, I ask you, what have you been up to? What do you do for fun? I never really ask. One common question we hear in textbooks, in English learning textbooks, is, what are your hobbies? And for me, hobbies sound so formal, and it doesn't sound like something fun. Like, everybody has hobbies. But when you ask somebody, what do you do from keeping your life from being boring? It makes me feel happier. I feel like, oh, okay, I'm a little bit more interested. What do I do that's interesting? You could share maybe a fun fact about your life that's different with somebody else, and the conversation even could continue and flow from there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you're right about that. I wanted to ask you too, if, for example, we haven't spoken in a while, and I wanted to ask you the question, Adriana. Why don't you tell me, what do you do to keep life from getting boring?
Oh, this is a tough question. What I do, dancing, listening to music. So I love listening to music, and if life gets boring, I like to find a new song to listen to, or I like to keep active. So going walking and keeping myself physically active, so that, I don't know, you never know what you'll see if you go for a walk or if you do something outdoors. That's what I like.
Yeah, and I think that's important too, especially given our careers as online English teachers. We spend a lot of time sitting in front of a computer. So I don't know, I'm noticing now that I have to force myself more and actually make an active effort to get out and go for walks and just to start moving around. So that's important for me, I think, too.
Yes. Oh, interesting. Okay. We also had, but maybe I know I'm cheating at the moment, but I saw this question is a little bit interesting. I know the third question is, what's your story? I know many English learners probably thinking, what's your story? What do you mean? So if I ask you, Jacob, what's your story? Do you have like a book you're going to share with me, or
Right. Yeah, well, it's a very open-ended question. So you'll find, I mean, if you ask 10 people this question, you'll get radically different answers, because you really, as someone who hears this question, you don't know how to answer it. So I imagine people would start, maybe telling a story about where they grew up or where they went to school, or who their friends are. So you could answer it in a number of different ways, but it's interesting to see too what people share about themselves in response to this story, or in response to this question rather. And usually they'll give you some information that you can work with and that you can build a conversation on. And that's really what you're trying to do with all of these questions, is you're trying to find some common ground that you can have a conversation about. And yeah, so this question is really good for eliciting that kind of information, I think.
Some English speakers really struggle with confidence. So if somebody asked you, if I asked you now, Jacob, what's your story? Would you share a lot with me, your personal life or your professional life? Like what, I know this is a very personal question, but I know that many English learners, like me personally, I probably wouldn't share a lot of my personal life, but I'd maybe choose something about what I'm doing at the moment, maybe some of my hobbies, how I've come to be where I am. But this is, what would you share?
Yeah, well, I tend to be kind of an open book. Speaking about stories, I tend to be kind of an open book in that regard. So I don't mind sharing personal information. Sometimes that's a problem. Sometimes I share too much personal information and I regret it. So, I mean, to be honest with you, if someone asked me this question, I have no idea how I would answer it, and I would probably answer it in a different way every time, depending on my mood, depending on how I was feeling that day. But yeah, it really depends, I think.
Yeah. I know, because I know so many English learners ask me, but I don't know, I don't feel confident asking this question. I just wanted to make it highlighted that even we get stuck answering such questions.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, interesting. But maybe we can go on to the next question. So we're a little bit stuck at the moment. Jacob, ask me an interesting question.
Are we stuck at the moment? Your internet, you mean?
No, it seems the internet, but we can continue.
Well, the next one on the list we had, and perhaps I'll ask you this question because, again, curious to know. And I know that we're doing a podcast right after this, so maybe I'll ask you more of these questions on my podcast. But the question is, what are you passionate about? And the key word here, for me at least, and you can tell me what you think of this, Adriana, the key word for me here is passionate. When you ask someone, if you rephrase this and said, what do you like doing? It's not as powerful. When you're asking someone what they're passionate about, you're really kind of asking them to dig deep and to tell you about things that they really value and about things that they really enjoy doing with their time. So when you ask someone, what are you passionate about? You're going to get a better answer than if you asked someone, what are your hobbies or what do you like doing? So this is a perfect example of how a single word like this can kind of change the feel of a question.
Yes. And it automatically makes it sound like a very serious question.
Yeah, exactly.
So should I answer your question then?
Yeah, please do. I'm curious to know.
Well, I'm passionate. What am I passionate about? I'm passionate about teaching. So I do, well, as you know, Jacob, I spend a lot of time connecting with people. So I'm passionate about connecting with people, sharing skills, but also I love the internet. So I'm passionate about developing learning methods around the internet, modern technologies, testing new things. Technology and learning, this is something that I'm really passionate about because I think this is an underdeveloped area and it's fun. So my passion would be teaching and figuring out new learning mechanisms with this.
Were you always into that, or was that something that developed as a consequence of what you're doing online with teaching right now?
I have no idea. I can't say. I actually hate technology. Anyway, so I can be a little bit of a ditz when it comes to some text things.
Yeah.
But I think it's just gradually, as I'm doing what I'm doing, I've noticed the power of technology, how you can actually meet new people, interact with new people, learn so much. I know I've learned a lot through YouTube, through tutorials, through courses, through Instagram, Snapchat, Insta stories. And then I think because I've seen the results on me, that this brings about that passion in sharing this through language learning. But yes, clearly I'm very passionate about this. And
Yeah, well, it's good to be passionate about what you do. So there you go.
interesting. What about you, Jacob? What are you passionate about?
So I share that passion that you have right now. It's kind of funny when you were answering that question, I was thinking about myself, and I used to hate Facebook and social media. Like I deleted my Facebook for about, I mean, I got it in high school when I'm 27 right now. So I got it maybe 10 years ago when everyone got it, when it was first becoming popular. And then I deleted it for a long time, like 3 or 4 years, because I just didn't like it so much. Then I got back onto it, and I got back onto it before I started teaching English online, but then I started spending a lot of time because I'm teaching English online now, and I use Facebook a lot, and I'm on it way too much now. I mean, I'm on it for maybe, I don't know, 5-6 hours a day, but I've become more interested in finding out ways to make Facebook and other social media platforms and other forms of technology work for learning. And I'm super interested in that too right now. And I think for me, that was just a consequence of trying to do this online teaching thing and seeing all of the different possibilities. And it's like every day I seem to find some new platform or something that I'd never heard of before. And it's so easy to imagine all of the different possibilities that are available.
Yes.
And so that's, I share that passion, I think, to answer your question.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Okay, let's go on. No, it's weird that we have the same passion. No, it's not weird. Of course, we're both online English teachers, and
Right.
clearly we dedicate a lot of time and energy to what we do. So.
Well, it's weird for me kind of, because when I think back to what I was like, 10, 15 years ago, if someone would have told me I'd be thrilled to spend 10 hours in front of a computer a day, I would have said, you're crazy, because that was so not me before. So it is kind of strange in that sense. I don't know what you were like as a child, but
oh yeah, no, no chance. Even today,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I just sat like for 4 hours in front of a computer.
yeah.
Yes, short
I'm
attention.
thinking of getting one of those standing treadmills. I'd really like to try that out. You know those things?
I tried that standing desk, but I couldn't do
Yeah.
it. But
You just couldn't concentrate on with it, or what was it?
I don't know. I just gave up. It's sitting was easier. Maybe that's not the best option, but I was typing and maybe it wasn't the best thing. But standing treadmill, what's that?
Well, I think I saw an infomercial for it once, but I think it's the same idea. Maybe I was thinking of a standing desk before, but I actually saw someone on a treadmill walking, and they have their desk set up. So they're walking very slowly, but they're walking, they're not sitting, and they're doing their work. And I guess it works for some people. I don't know. I feel like I'd be confused doing it. I was at the gym the other day and I put it on a really slow pace and practiced by myself. It was kind of silly, but I felt like at the time, I felt like I wouldn't be able to concentrate if I had that, but I feel like I need to do something because I'm sitting way too much.
Interesting. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's finish up with the last question.
Yeah, sure.
What are you most proud of? That's an interesting question indeed. But
Yeah.
Why is this an interesting question?
Well, it's interesting, I think, because one, you don't hear it very often. So it's another one of those questions that will kind of grab your attention, I think. And two, it really makes people think about what they've done in their lives and about what they're proud of. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind and to lose your perspective that way. And a lot of the time, I think we're hard on ourselves and we don't look at what we've accomplished in the past, and we don't, give ourselves a pat on the back sometimes. So that's one that's nice to do. And this question kind of asks people to do that. It asks the person to think to what they've done in their lives and to talk about what they're proud of, what they're excited about, what they feel like they've accomplished. One thing I would say about this question is that if you asked someone right away, like if you just met someone at a coffee shop and maybe 2 minutes into a conversation, you asked this, it might come off as a little strange. I would definitely wait for a while to ask this question until you know the person a little bit better, until you've established some kind of rapport. But yeah, it is an interesting question. And whenever I've asked this question to people, we've always had something good to talk about as a result, I think. So I really love this question.
Oh.
Fantastic, friends. You listened to the natural conversation between Jacob and me. But what were those 5 interesting questions Jacob and me talked about in this natural conversation? Remember to tell me in the comments below this video those 5 interesting questions you learned throughout this video lesson, and tell me, will you use those interesting questions when you start a conversation with someone in English? Again, a special thanks to Jacob from jacobteacher.com for taking the time to talk to us, to share his Canadian accent with us. Friends, if you love this video lesson, don't stop learning here. Continue listening to natural conversations in English by watching these video lessons just here. To learn more about the Using English TP Classroom and how you can improve your spoken English with us as a Using English TP member, check out this video lesson here. Friends, if you love this video lesson, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on notifications so that you receive the latest lessons. Remember, friends, to comment below those 5 interesting questions, and I'll see you in the comments below this video. Bye for now.